Chapter 5, The Second Act. New York City, nightfall. A black Chrysler cruises through lower Manhattan. In the back seat, Luca stares blankly at the blurred city lights. The heist was a success on paper, but unease pulses beneath his composed exterior. Across from him sits Mr. Grigori, relaxed, legs crossed, nursing a glass of bourbon. He taps the window lightly, murmuring, "The brushstroke always reveals the painter. Don't forget that, Luca." Luca nods, eyes narrowing. He knows Grigori isn't referring to art. Chapter 6, False Shadows. Somewhere in Brooklyn, a secure warehouse. Alessandro carefully opens the crate containing the Most Larsen. The painting gleams with surreal beauty, even under the dim LED lights. Suddenly, a voice echoes through the corridor. It's a whisper, "Betrayal is a necessary pigment." Alessandro turns, gun drawn. But no one's there. Cut to surveillance room. An unknown man watches through CCTV. He scribbles a note, "Grigori must never see Venice again." Chapter 7, A Dream in Crimson. Grigori visits a lavish penthouse, the home of Vera Milan, a wealthy collector with ties to black market antiquities. Vera stands by a fire, stroking a silver dagger. "Vera, you're out of prison, but you're not out of debt." Grigori places a photo on the table. It's not the Most Larsen, but something more dangerous, a hidden fresco attributed to Da Vinci, rumored to be buried beneath San Zaccaria in Venice. Vera, intrigued, "You always did prefer the impossible." Grigori smirks, "Only when it's beautiful." Chapter 8, Fractured Allegiance. Luca walks into a cathedral confessional, more for silence than salvation. He speaks softly to the priest on the other side. "Luca, is it a sin to steal if the man you're stealing from is already damned?" Priest, "Oh. S. Even the devil thinks he's doing the right thing." When Luca leaves, the priest removes his collar. He's not a priest at all. He's Agent William Holt, an undercover FBI analyst working with Interpol. He picks up a file labeled Operation Crimson Canvas. Chapter 9, Tides of Venice. A plane lands in Venice. Luca, Alessandro, and Grigori step onto the tarmac. The air smells of salt and shadow. Luca whispers, "Home." Grigori doesn't respond, his eyes are locked on the Grand Canal. The past is buried beneath these waters, but some secrets float. Alessandro receives a cryptic message. "He knows you switched it. Play your hand carefully. No sender." Chapter 10, The Painting That Wasn't. Inside a secret gallery in Murano, a buyer is shown the Most Larsen. But under UV light, the paint is too new. Alessandro's copy has been discovered. The buyer, an older man with a thick French accent, kills the dealer in a single motion. Frenchman, coldly, "Tell Mr. Grigori the Louvre remembers him." New York, 2:33 a.m. The elevator hummed as it descended to the basement level beneath 78 Charles Street. Luca stood alone inside, hands in his coat pockets, eyes fixed on the red flicker of descending numbers. The heist was done. But something hadn't settled. Grigori had smiled too easily. Alessandro had avoided eye contact. And the painting hadn't felt like the Most Larsen. The doors slid open. Cold cement floors. Soft echoes. A vault door blinked green at his presence. Inside, the painting rested beneath a sheet of ballistic glass. He stepped closer. No alarms. No guards. Just the breath of a secret world, stale and silent. Luca placed his hand on the glass. It was wrong. Venice, morning light over the Grand Canal. Alessandro sipped a tiny espresso at a shaded café near Santa Maria della Salute. He wore linen, soft blue, blending in with the tourists. His phone buzzed once. He ignored it. Instead, his eyes tracked the gondolas as they passed, carrying lovers and liars across centuries of water. He lit a cigarette, flicked the match into the canal, and finally answered the call. "Speak." A voice crackled. "Low, Russian, unrecordable, Grigori knows." The line went dead. Alessandro looked up. Across the piazza, Grigori stood beneath a colonnade, his hands folded neatly behind his back. He wasn't smiling. 3 hours later, the doors of the Scuola Grande di San Rocco opened to a private showing. Grigori walked slowly, reverently, past Tintoretto's Crucifixion. His fingers grazing the air as though tracing invisible brushstrokes. Luca trailed him, silent. "Do you know why I brought you here?" Grigori asked. Luca's jaw tightened. "You said we were meeting someone." Grigori didn't stop walking. "These walls," he said, "have seen betrayal and salvation side by side. Tintoretto painted men at their most divine, and most monstrous. That duality, that's what this is all about. Not the money. Not the painting. The performance." A door creaked open at the end of the hall. A figure stepped out, Agent Holt, the fake priest from the confessional. Luca's eyes narrowed. Grigori finally turned. "Say hello to your guardian angel." Meanwhile, Alessandro made his way through narrow alleys to a private dockyard. A masked man awaited him on a small boat, holding a silver briefcase. "You brought the copy?" the man asked. Alessandro revealed a rolled canvas wrapped in acid-free linen. "Let's be clear," Alessandro said. "If Grigori finds out about this, I'm already dead." The man chuckled. "If Grigori finds out, we're all dead." They exchanged cases. Inside the briefcase, a list of underground buyers across Europe, South America, and Dubai. The man pointed to one name at the top, Lucien Davro. "You'll want to avoid him. He doesn't care if it's real. He only cares who bleeds." Midnight. A church bell echoed across the city. Grigori stood alone in a crypt beneath Santa Maria Formosa. In his gloved hand, he held a tiny relic, a torn parchment with Da Vinci's mirrored handwriting. The chalice drawn on it was incomplete. He whispered, it was never about the painting. It was always about the second piece. Behind him, Luca approached. Grigori didn't turn. "Tell me, Luca. If you had to choose between truth, or victory, which would you hang in your gallery?" Luca stepped forward slowly. And in his coat pocket, his fingers wrapped around the handle of a pistol. Venice, underground crypt, night. The crypt walls whispered centuries-old secrets. Moss crept along the carved faces of forgotten bishops. Grigori's silhouette loomed over the parchment, Da Vinci's reversed script flickering in the candlelight. Luca's boots echoed softly. His hand remained inside his coat pocket. "I trusted you," he said coldly. "No." Grigori replied, "You followed me. There's a difference." Luca's jaw tensed. "Where's the real Most Larsen?" Grigori's grin returned, serpentine. "Still wet with varnish in Prague, where it belongs. The one you helped steal was meant to vanish. A decoy. Insurance. You used me. I shaped you." Grigori's eyes gleamed. A soft click from Luca's pistol. Grigori turned slowly. "Pull it," he whispered. "And you'll never know what Da Vinci really hid in that painting." Venice, canal side, same time. Alessandro paced a torchlit corridor beneath an abandoned glass factory on Murano Island. The air smelled of soot and memory. The silver briefcase was gone, handed off. But he had the real painting now. Not the Most Larsen. Not the decoy. Something older. He reached the final vault room, where two men waited, one masked, one nervously sweating in a gray suit. Between them stood a massive wooden crate, sealed with copper latches. Alessandro set the rolled canvas down gently. The masked man nodded. You found it. Alessandro didn't answer. The man stepped forward, unrolling the canvas. A Renaissance map, painted by Da Vinci, showing a triangle formed by Florence, Jerusalem, and a third city, Babel, its tower rendered in haunting detail. This, the masked man said, breathless, was not supposed to exist. Alessandro stepped back. That tower, it's a cipher, isn't it? The nervous man finally spoke. They're going to kill us all if they know we've seen this. The masked man smiled. Then don't let them know. He drew a silenced pistol and fired once. Back in the crypt. Grigori didn't flinch as Luca's pistol stayed aimed. You know what I've learned? Grigori said, stepping closer, daring him. The truth doesn't need protection. But secrets, they need violence. He opened his palm. A second parchment. Half of the cipher. The last piece. He said, is in Babel. Luca lowered the pistol slightly. I want in. He said. Grigori smiled darkly. You already are. Above them, the bells of Santa Maria Formosa tolled 3 times. The sound echoed all the way across Venice. Murano Island, moments later. Alessandro stood alone now. The map back in his hands. The body gone, dragged into shadows. From the corner of the room, a small voice, female, trembling. You shouldn't be here. He turned. A girl, maybe 10, barefoot, clutching a book of psalms. How did you get in? She pointed at the map. It's not a triangle. She whispered. It's a trinity. Then she ran. Alessandro stared at the parchment again, this time noticing 3 chalices, hidden in the painting's brushwork, faintly marked with the sacred numbers, 3 to 6, 9. His breath caught. Everything was about to change. Int. Train heading east, night. The train thundered through the Balkans, its path lit only by the glint of moonlight on the rails. Inside a private cabin, Luca sat opposite Grigori. Between them, the aged cipher, now unrolled, the ink vibrating faintly with time's breath. Rain streaked the windows. Luca. Quietly. Why Babel? Grigori. Leans back. Because every tower eventually falls, unless you rebuild it the right way. Luca's eyes narrowed. Luca. You're talking prophecy now. Grigori chuckled, pouring dark red wine into 2 crystal glasses. He slid one across. Grigori. I'm talking architecture. Spiritual architecture. Da Vinci left more than secrets. He left a map to reconstruction, of man, mind, and myth. Luca didn't drink. His fingers traced the symbols on the parchment. Luca. The 3 chalices. They're real. Grigori. Yes. One of truth. One of power. One of deception. Together, they opened the path to Babel. He tapped the cipher's edge where the numbers 3 to 6, 9 spiraled into a geometric knot. Grigori, Siontide. Tesla understood it. Da Vinci encrypted it. The priests of Spes Bona buried it. Luca stood. Luca. I don't care about lost towers. I care about my brother. Grigori's smile vanished. Grigori. Your brother died chasing 1 chalice. He was meant to. They always send the bloodline first. You were the second flame. Luca stepped forward, eyes burning. Luca. You said we were partners. Grigori. And I never said equals. He raised his glass. Luca knocked it from his hand, shattering it. Silence. Then. Grigori, softly. We're nearing the crossing. Once we pass into the Black Sea corridor, we go underground. There's a site, beneath Tbilisi. The Vatican never found it. Luca. What's there? Grigori turned his gaze out the window, watching the darkness. Grigori. A cathedral older than Babel, with the first chalice buried beneath its altar. Thunder cracked. Int. Hallway between train cars, night. Luca stepped out into the corridor, pacing. His phone vibrated. Message from unknown number. Don't trust the one who walks with fire. Babel is not a place. It's a mirror. He looked around. No one. Then behind him, soft footsteps. He turned. Nothing. But tucked into the doorframe, a black envelope, wax sealed with the emblem of spes bona. Inside, a single phrase. The false chalice already drinks. Back in the cabin. Grigori stared at the remaining wine glass, untouched. He whispered to himself. Grigori. Truth or power? Power or deception? He drew a knife and gently pressed it against his palm, letting a single drop fall onto the cipher. The ink shimmered. The map rearranged. And a single word emerged from the cipher's pattern. Luxor. Ext. Outskirts of Tbilisi, Peridon. A battered jeep rumbled through forested hills shrouded in mist. Crows scattered as Grigori and Luca approached a crumbling monastery, hidden in the folds of the land. Luca. This doesn't look like the gates of Babel. Grigori. Because the gate is buried. Beneath 7 layers of stone and 20 centuries of denial. They dismounted. Grigori handed Luca a rusted oil lantern. He pulled back a tangled mass of vines revealing a narrow, descending stone shaft. Grigori, Samantha. Breathe slowly. The air grows strange. Int. Underground tunnel, continuous. The passage snaked down. Ancient Georgian carvings whispered from the walls, symbols not found in any scripture, yet echoing the cipher's geometry. A stone relief, a man holding a chalice to the heavens, surrounded by 7 halos. Luca reached out to touch it. Grigori stopped him. Grigori. The first guardian was a mathematician. The carvings aren't decoration. They're a sequence. Step wrong. He didn't finish. Instead, he reached into his coat, produced a pocket compass. Not magnetic, harmonic. It vibrated with soft chimes as he stepped forward. Grigori, Samantha. Sound leads truth. Silence guards lies. Int. Vast underground chamber, minutes later. The tunnel widened. Then, a gasp of space. A subterranean cathedral revealed itself, carved entirely from obsidian stone. Candlelight flickered from sconces that hadn't been touched in years but still burned. No flame. Just blue light. A mosaic of an eyeless angel adorned the apse, wings wrapped around an altar. Luca stood in awe. Luca. How is this even here? Grigori. Built before Rome. Before Babylon. The chalice of judgment was hidden here, before Babel fell. It isn't just a cup. It's a mechanism. For choosing what the world becomes. Luca. Who built it? Grigori. No one remembers. Only that they feared its misuse. He stepped forward, laying the cipher on the obsidian altar. Grigori, Samantha. 3 chalices were cast. 2 to deceive. 1 to reveal. The one here shows you the true nature of your soul. Luca's voice dropped. Luca. You brought me here to test me. Grigori looked away. Grigori. No, Luca. I brought you because I can't face it alone. Int. Cathedral, moments later. A hidden stone drawer beneath the altar creaked open. Inside, dust, bones, and a black glass chalice, cold to the touch, yet humming like a tuning fork. Its rim bore the inscription. I do not lie. But I do not speak. Grigori's hands trembled. Luca stared at it, then at him. Luca. Drink? Grigori nodded, eyes distant. He lifted the chalice. Tilted it. Nothing poured, but the sound of rushing water filled the chamber. Then. Grigori collapsed. Convulsing. His pupils gone white. Luca knelt beside him, shouting. But Grigori was somewhere else. Grigori's vision, within the chalice. He stood in a burning city. Statues wept blood. Angels warred with men. Babel rose, not a tower, but a mirror, each reflection showing a different path he could have walked. A child approached him, holding a second chalice, identical but inverted. Child. One of you will redeem Babel. The other will burn it. Back in the cathedral. Grigori gasped awake. He grabbed Luca's arm, eyes wide, tears falling. Grigori. You're not chasing your brother anymore. You're chasing yourself. And the second chalice is already in play. Luca stood, shaken. Luca. Then we find it. Grigori nodded faintly. Grigori. Luxor. The chalice of power. But it won't be guarded. It will be waiting. The obsidian walls shimmer faintly under the blue flame light, revealing more carvings, twisting vines interlaced with eyes, half-hidden symbols of spes bona, and fractured faces locked in silent screams. Luca traced a finger over a broken stone tablet, its fragments scattered on the floor. The ancient script pulsed faintly under his touch. Luca. These aren't just warnings, they're instructions. A path. Grigori knelt beside a series of etched concentric circles embedded into the floor, like a labyrinth. Grigori. Each circle represents a trial. The path to the chalice demands more than courage. A low hum vibrated through the chamber, almost like a heartbeat. Luca turned sharply. Luca. We're not alone. From the shadows, a faint, whispering chant echoed, ancient words in a language lost to time. Grigori's eyes narrowed. Grigori. The guardians. Or the lost souls bound to this place. He pulled a thin dagger from his belt and traced a glyph on the wall. The glyph glowed briefly, a spectral map illuminating a hidden corridor. Grigori, Siontide. Follow me. But step lightly. Int. Hidden corridor, moments later. The air grew colder. The walls closed in, carved faces seeming to watch them with hollow eyes. Luca's lantern flickered violently. Suddenly, the floor beneath them trembled, a subtle but ominous pulse. Luca. It's alive. Grigori pressed a hidden stone panel. A door slid open into a vaulted chamber filled with hundreds of ancient skulls, arranged in a grotesque mosaic. At the center, a pedestal bore a small, sealed crystal vial shimmering with dark liquid. Grigori. A warning and a temptation. Luca swallowed. Luca. What happens if we break the seal? Grigori's face hardened. Grigori. Then the shadows awaken. The chant grew louder, swirling around them like a living thing. Suddenly, spectral forms flickered at the edges of vision, ghostly figures bound in eternal watch. Luca gripped his lantern tighter. Int. Underground cathedral, continuous. The obsidian walls shimmer faintly under the blue flame light, revealing more carvings, twisting vines interlaced with eyes, half-hidden symbols of spes bona, and fractured faces locked in silent screams. Luca traced a finger over a broken stone tablet, its fragments scattered on the floor. The ancient script pulsed faintly under his touch. Luca, these aren't just warnings, they're instructions. A path. Grigori knelt beside a series of etched concentric circles embedded into the floor, like a labyrinth. Grigori, each circle represents a trial. The path to the chalice demands more than courage. A low hum vibrated through the chamber, almost like a heartbeat. Luca turned sharply. Luca, we're not alone. From the shadows, a faint, whispering chant echoed, ancient words in a language lost to time. Grigori's eyes narrowed. Grigori the Guardians. Or the lost souls bound to this place. He pulled a thin dagger from his belt and traced a glyph on the wall. The glyph glowed briefly, a spectral map illuminating a hidden corridor. Grigori, Samantha, follow me. But step lightly. Int. Hidden corridor, moments later. The air grew colder. The walls closed in, carved faces seeming to watch them with hollow eyes. Luca's lantern flickered violently. Suddenly, the floor beneath them trembled, a subtle but ominous pulse. Luca, it's alive. Grigori pressed a hidden stone panel. A door slid open into a vaulted chamber filled with hundreds of ancient skulls, arranged in a grotesque mosaic. At the center, a pedestal bore a small, sealed crystal vial shimmering with dark liquid. Grigori, a warning and a temptation. Luca swallowed. Luca, what happens if we break the seal? Grigori's face hardened. Grigori, then the shadows awaken. The chant grew louder, swirling around them like a living thing. Suddenly, spectral forms flickered at the edges of vision, ghostly figures bound in eternal watch. Luca gripped his lantern tighter. Int. Hidden corridor, continuous. Every step Luca took echoed unnervingly, swallowed almost instantly by the cavernous silence. The air grew thick, damp, heavy, and laced with something faintly metallic, like blood long dried. Shadows clung to the edges of vision, flickering with movement that wasn't there when Luca blinked. Grigori's breath came slow and steady, but even he glanced over his shoulder more than once. Luca, whispering, do you feel it? Like the walls are watching. Grigori didn't answer, but his hand tightened on the dagger's hilt. Suddenly, a faint scratching noise scraped against stone, soft, deliberate, coming from just beyond the darkness. Luca froze, heart hammering. Luca, who's there? No answer. Just silence. Then the whispering chant returned, growing lower, twisting into something more urgent, more desperate. The temperature dropped. Luca's breath fogged in the stale air. A distant clang echoed, metal on metal, far too deliberate to be random. Grigori stepped forward, eyes narrowed, voice a low growl. Grigori, this place remembers. And it resents intruders. Ahead, the passage forked, one path draped in thick cobwebs, the other lined with shattered bones, brittle and yellowed. Luca's skin prickled. Luca, which way? Grigori hesitated. Grigori, neither. The right path never leads where you want to go. The whispering grew louder, words twisting into a warning or perhaps a curse. Luca swallowed, forcing himself forward. With each step, the shadows seemed to stretch closer, and somewhere deep in the stone, a slow pulse beat like a warning drum. Int. Hidden corridor, continuous. The whispering chant morphed, taking on a chilling cadence, neither fully human nor entirely otherworldly. It curled around the ancient stone like smoke, tendrils brushing Luca's skin, freezing the hairs on his neck. The shadows around them twisted, lengthening unnaturally. From the darkness emerged a faint, flickering glow, pale blue, like the light of a dying flame. Luca squinted, heart slamming. Shapes formed in the mist, figures draped in tattered robes, their faces hidden beneath deep hoods. They moved with a fluidity that defied gravity, gliding just above the ground. Grigori's grip on his dagger tightened, but his eyes betrayed something deeper, fear edged with reverence. One of the ghostly figures stepped closer, voice like a breath of wind. Ghostly figure, why do you trespass here, seekers of forbidden truth? Luca's voice caught. The air thickened, cold fingers curling around his spine. Luca, we seek answers, a way out. The apparition's eyes gleamed beneath its hood, endless voids filled with flickering stars. Ghostly figure, some answers demand sacrifice. Some paths are barred to the living. Behind them, the walls pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat syncing with the distant echoes of that relentless chant. Suddenly, the ground beneath Luca shuddered. The stone floor cracked, and spectral hands reached up, grasping at his boots, desperate to pull him down, into the earth. Grigori lunged, slashing through the hands, but they passed through his blade like smoke. The ghostly figures whispered again, voices weaving into a cold, ancient lullaby. Luca's breath hitched. The air tasted of ash and old prayers. The cathedral was alive, a vessel of restless spirits guarding secrets darker than any human mind dared to imagine. Int. Underground cathedral, deeper chamber. Luca and Grigori moved cautiously, the flickering torchlight revealing vaulted ceilings carved with cryptic symbols. The air hums with ancient energy, heavy and electric. Luca's voice is barely a whisper. Luca the Da Vinci is here. Somewhere beneath these stones. Grigori nods, eyes darting to shadows that seem to shift when you're not looking. Suddenly, the faint glow of the ghostly figures flickers at the edges of their vision, silent guardians, watching. They reach an ornately sealed crypt. Luca kneels, tracing the lock's delicate mechanism. It's no ordinary puzzle, it's enchanted, infused with centuries-old rites to keep intruders away. Grigori, this isn't just security. It's a curse. Luca's fingers falter, and the chanting rises, ghostly whispers curling around their ears, trying to drive them back. The lock clicks open, but the moment the tomb door creaks, a chilling wind blasts through the chamber. The spirits surge forward, no longer distant shadows but spectral wraiths blocking their escape. Luca, grim, no time for hesitation. We get the painting, and we run. Grigori pulls a small relic from his pocket, an ancient talisman etched with protective runes. He holds it high, the wraiths recoil, hissing. Grigori, this buys us moments. Use them wisely. Luca grabs the Da Vinci Most Larsen, its painted surface gleams unnervingly, almost alive, and alarms echo in their minds, pounding through the cathedral like war drums. They race back, pursued by relentless spirits whose moans chill the soul. The heist isn't just a theft, it's a battle for survival against something older and darker than greed. Int. Underground cathedral, catacombs. Luca and Grigori flee down a narrow stone corridor, the Most Larsen painting strapped to Luca's back. Behind them, the wraiths shriek, their voices like the cracking of ice and dying prayers. The torchlight sputters. The walls around them shift, the architecture itself seems to warp, doors disappearing, passages collapsing into shadows. The cathedral doesn't want them to leave. Grigori, panicked, shouting, it's reconfiguring. The place is alive. They reach a spiral staircase, half collapsed. Grigori doesn't hesitate. He jumps first, landing hard but upright. Luca follows, slipping, barely catching the edge. A hand, a ghostly, skeletal hand, bursts from the wall and grabs Luca's ankle. Luca ack. Struggling, they're in the stone. Grigori rushes back, pulls out the talisman again. He presses it against the spectral hand, it hisses and vanishes, the wall trembling as if in pain. Grigori, they're not just spirits. They're bound, enslaved to this place. Luca, so free them. Grigori looks at the talisman, hesitating. Then smashes it on the ground. A burst of blue fire erupts outward in a dome. The spirits scream, pulled away from the stone, unraveling in threads of light. The air settles for a moment, silent. But the structure begins to collapse. Int. Final passageway, moments later. They sprint down the final corridor, the original one that had vanished has returned, reassembled by the relic sacrifice. The painting pulses. Beneath its canvas, Luca senses something, like a heartbeat. Luca, it's not just art, is it? Grigori, urgent, you can ask questions later. Stone cracks above. They duck under a falling archway, bursting through the crumbling door just as the cathedral begins to collapse inward, not like a building, but like a dying organism curling into itself. Ext. Hill above the ruins, night. They scramble out through the earth, clawing into cool air and moonlight. The ground shakes, then falls still. Below, the cathedral is gone, swallowed entirely. Silence. Luca, panting, that wasn't just a job. Grigori, it never is. Luca pulls the painting from his back, setting it down. The center of the canvas pulses again, faintly, like a second heart between them. Grigori, we didn't steal it. We woke it. EXT. Abandoned winery, night. A cold wind sweeps across a forgotten vineyard in northern Italy. The moon casts silver shadows across rusted machinery and broken stone walls. A black SUV pulls up silently between twisted vines. Luca and Grigori step out, the Most Larsen painting carefully covered in dark velvet. They make their way inside. Int. Abandoned winery, continuous. Inside the crumbling estate, a few dim lanterns glow. A long oak table stands beneath dust-covered chandeliers. Waiting is a middle-aged woman, sharply dressed in black, her face half obscured by a lace veil. This is Valeria Del Mara, once a collector, now a broker for buyers too powerful to show their faces. Behind her, two armed men stand silent. Her eyes never leave the velvet-wrapped painting. Valeria, you're late. Grigori, you're lucky we're alive. Valeria gestures to the table. Valeria, show it. Luca hesitates, then slowly unwraps the Most Larsen. Even in low light, the painting exudes something unnatural, shadows seem deeper, the eyes of the figures within almost aware. The moment the canvas is exposed, the lanterns flicker. One goes out. Everyone freezes. Valeria, quietly. What did you bring me? Luca, the Da Vinci Most Larsen. Unseen for 5 centuries. Valeria, stepping closer, and yet it breathes. She runs a gloved hand near the painting, but doesn't touch it. Valeria, Samantha, it was never meant to be found. She turns sharply to Grigori. Valeria, Samantha, I deal in rarity, not curses. Who else knows you took this? Grigori, only ghosts. And they didn't make it out. Valeria eyes the two men carefully. Valeria, I have one buyer. Discreet. Superstitious. Dangerous. He won't meet you. But he'll pay. She slides over a burner phone, an old model with a single number saved on the screen. Valeria, Samantha, you'll go to him. Alone. Luca, no names. Valeria, just coordinates. A drop site. Somewhere remote. If he approves, he'll wire the funds. Grigori takes the phone. The screen flashes with a GPS coordinate in the Carpathians. Grigori, Romania. Valeria, he believes the painting is one of the last gates. Don't as to what that means, just deliver it, get paid, and never speak of this again. Luca, and if he doesn't approve? Valeria pauses. Her eyes drift to the canvas. Valeria, then he won't let you leave. She hands them a black leather case, neatly filled with old currency, unmarked bills, and a ceremonial dagger adorned with Latin inscriptions. Valeria, Samantha, for the ritual. He insists. Luca exchanges a look with Grigori. Grigori, what kind of buyer performs rituals on stolen paintings? Valeria, the kind who understands what you've woken. Int. SUV, moving, night. Grigori drives. Luca sits beside him, staring at the covered painting. Luca, you believe her? That this guy's real? Grigori, doesn't matter. We deliver. We take the money. We vanish. Luca, you saw what it did. That cathedral didn't collapse. It folded. Like it was sealing itself again. Grigori is silent. Luca, Samantha, that painting's not just a gate. It's bait. Grigori, then let the monster take the bait. We get out clean. He grips the wheel harder. Grigori, Samantha, no more ghosts. Ext. Border road, night. As they cross into Romania, fog thickens. The forests around them grow denser, ancient. Somewhere in the dark beyond the trees, something watches. The Most Larsen painting, though wrapped, gives off a soft throb, like it's dreaming. And it's not done yet. To be continued. In Venetian Dreams and American Shadows, Edition 3.